Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is November the 7th. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I am going to be doing that reading on Russia and Putin. And so Jerry decided it was time to make another appearance so everybody could kind of have a deep breath and an awe moment before we kind of dive into the muck. So, Jerry says hello. Yes, I know I'm gorgeous. I think I'm a rock star. I love every compliment I get. Okay, cutie pie. Go do something productive. Go on. Okay, so before I start, a couple things I just wanted to mention. I gotta say, I was kind of surprised yesterday when there were some comments coming through and people were saying things like, well, you know, Kentucky, they only won by 1 point. That's huge because Trump carried it by 30. So if they won by 1, that means they actually, 31% of people voted in a way that they hadn't before. In Mississippi, I believe that one was carried by Trump by 28 points, and the Democrat only lost by 5 points. Again, 23 points of an improvement. So these are all really, really good things, and we have to absolutely embrace the positive and not put negative connotations on things and not dwell on it, because when you do that, you attract more of the very thing you're trying to avoid. So let's keep those thoughts positive. Just before I settled down to do this, Pence was in New Hampshire filing Trump's paperwork, and as I was watching it, sort of hearing it more, the thought came into my mind, which was literally, I wonder how many of those people are actually paid. Yes, there were people there who support him and love him and think he's amazing, but I suspect that some of the people there, had a fresh 50 in their pocket or something like that, and that's why they showed up, and that's why they were there cheering like sort of trained seals. So there's that. So the hearings are starting next Wednesday. Get your popcorn ready, people. It's going to be really interesting. And more, again, the things start on Wednesday, and Putin has Erdogan coming in for a state visit on Wednesday. The attempts to distract are going to continue. They're going to get bigger. They're going to get more ridiculous because, frankly, that's all they have left. So that's going to be very interesting. And I think that's kind of it for now. So let us take a look at Putin and Russia. And I'm going to sort of see if the cards tie in to this reading, kind of the right-wing crazy that has been, kind of growing throughout the world. But, again, for as hard as that, the combination of right-wing and sort of the family, that whole kind of really religious, evangelical, we need this to be a disaster because, we need the second coming. We need, those two components have sort of come together in unholy matrimony. Okay, so I'm going to see if that shows up and if we get any insights on that. So come on down because I have a question. Let's go. All right. So here we go. I'm going to take a look at Russia and Putin and how that relates to the United States, and how what's going on with the Russians and what they're trying to do to democracy, how much that is actually impacting in other places of the globe who are also being, impacted by this. Okay, so here we go. How do I want to phrase this? Putin, Russia, manipulation. Putin, Russia, manipulation. Putin, Russia, manipulation. Okay, so this is the thing, you know, whether we like it or not, or appreciate it or not, they have been very good at getting their message out. You know, they really have. I mean, they have been able to ride to victory in a lot of places, and that would include the Brexit thing in the UK, and that would, of course, include the United States. And I am not positive. I'm going to be getting more information before I can speak kind of coherently about Australia. But I think that there have been some real inroads made there too. So frankly, it has been very, very successful. And the reason it has been very successful is because Putin is smart enough to realize that when you play on people's fears, and when you convince them that before was better than now, what you end up with is people who are trying to reclaim before. I was sort of entertained this morning when I saw that Jeff Sessions has announced that he is going to be running for a Senate seat in Alabama. And of course, good old Roy Moore's there too, like, good Lord. But what it made me think about was that, again, we have a perfect example of that old guard, the old ways, and the old attitudes simply not being ready to relinquish their power, their thinking, their influence. And Jeff Sessions has been in government for a really long time. I'm sure he has an amazing pension. Why does he need to do this? Well, because him, like others, just feel that these newfangled ideas, you know, like things like equality and a woman's right to choose and a real separation between, you know, state and church, they think that's appalling, and they're going to do whatever they can to fight it. And Putin is literally smart enough to know how to play into that fear. And that is why he has been successful. As much as we do or don't like him or admire him or despise him, you cannot separate the fact that he is intelligent and he has strategic training in his back pocket. This is not, you know, a sprint. Okay, this is a marathon for Putin, and he has every intention of winning this. And part of the reason that he can win it is because he is able to connect with and play on people's fears. And the people who are scared are the people who do not want to let go of what they have. They're not willing to take a leap of faith into the future. They want to hearken back to the days of old where they were empowered, they felt secure, no one questioned them. Everyone was like them. They're not going to get it, but make no mistake, he has absolutely taken advantage of the fact that that is part of the mindset that globally we are dealing with. Yeah. So, you know, he is literally capable of getting in and stealing information, corrupting the truth, spinning the truth in a different way. And then he kind of leaves the chaos and he pulls back and he retreats back to Russia with basically his stolen goods. And the stolen goods can be anything from literally influencing an election to doing things like impacting electrical grids and that kind of thing. It involves getting people in his back pocket who have no business being anywhere near his pants, never mind right into his back pocket. He is able to draw those people to him because he is incredibly good at reading people, at understanding what motivates them, and then being able to manipulate them. In some ways, however, he is a little bit defensive right now. He's not all shook up and he can't cope, but he is sort of becoming mindful of the fact that, you know what, in some ways there is too much attention being drawn to him and the Russian government, as opposed to it's sort of like he wants to keep the infighting in the appropriate countries, and he doesn't want to be front and center of the reason, of being part of the reason for the infighting. Okay, he's in some way getting a little bit too much attention right now, or too much notoriety, and while he is absolutely ego driven, and while he sees himself in a much better light than, honestly, pretty much the rest of the world, not to mention the people of Russia, there is not kind of a strong, overwhelming need. There's a strong need, but not overwhelming, for that recognition and that praise and that adulation like Trump, okay? So he's starting to get a wee little bit concerned about the fact that, you know what, my name is getting out there a little bit too much in ways that, I really, it's not serving me, for people to focus on me and not be focusing on the chaos I have created in their country. So that's an interesting thing. Trump, okay? Here he is. And here we have the Three of Swords. So what I can tell you energetically here is that literally Trump's entire focus is on greed. And so when you have somebody who is sort of so focused in one specific area, they don't look around at the other things that are going on, or are being manipulated, or are being brought to the surface, because they're only looking at one thing in one direction. That is their entire focus and concern. And so in a lot of ways, first of all, Trump is stupid, okay? And so he doesn't actually understand diplomacy. He doesn't understand international relationships. And when he thinks of Russia, all he thinks of is, I want to build a Trump Tower there. I want to be friends with Putin. That's it. Ukraine, there has been some reporting out, I think, from the release of the deposition transcripts, where when people tried to push Trump on exactly what his concern was with Ukraine, the only answer he could give them was, it's just trouble. Ukraine is just trouble. They're trouble. That was it. That is the extent of his knowledge. So he doesn't have that ability to sort of look at things and reason. A lot of people have asked me if Trump is a Russian asset. I have to tell you, he ended up being an amazing tool for them. But I wouldn't actually go so far as to say an asset, because, and I could be wrong, but to me the connotation implies that, I don't know, it actually took a little bit of maneuvering or savvy to put that person into place and position. And, it was a slow evolution. With Trump, are you kidding? Putin was able to jump in 2 feet first, make a big splash, and there was Trump panting like a puppy saying, please, 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 be my friend, be my friend. What do you want? What can I give you to make your world a better place, President Putin? It's appalling. So was he actually recruited? No. He just was so desperate for attention from Putin that all Putin had to sort of say was, well, then I want this. Oh, good boy, you gave me that. Okay, well, now I want this. Oh, that's a good boy. In some ways, there's been a lot of analysis about, part of the reason that Trump is doing all the things that he is doing, particularly with this whole impeachment system, process and what's actually coming out and why it came out. The phone call, okay? And we know that it's bigger than that and more fleshed out than that. Part of the, there's been all of this analysis about if what Trump wants to do is he wants to, shift the blame to the Ukraine, thereby exonerating Russia for interfering in the 2016 election, therefore allowing sanctions to be dropped. And that, of course, is to Russia's benefit. That may be the perspective from Putin. Honestly, from Trump, it is more a matter of, I want this. And one, there is a lot of Russian money that you have benefited from over the years by money laundering, those buildings, the sales of real estate. You've made a lot of money. And frankly, if you want to make more, you're going to play with my ball the way I want. It's that simple. It's that basic. It honestly boils down to, if you be a good boy and you do your homework, you'll get a cupcake afterwards. I'm not kidding, okay? And because Trump is so single-minded, he doesn't see it. His focus is exclusive to making money, his own prestige, and in his head, he actually thinks that being buddies with Putin makes it, somehow he believes it elevates his position and his standing. It's almost kind of crazy. Okay, so what we have here with temperance and justice is, eventually in time, over the evolution, there is going to be a balancing that goes on in Russia. And in fact, a lot of the corruption is going to get cleared out, and some of it is actually going to and has been cleared out. The process has started under the new president of the Ukraine. So he is pushing back. And in Russia, you're going to see kind of the same evolution, but it's not going to happen yet. First, Putin has to leave or be removed from office, or something has to happen that stops Putin's rule of Russia. When that happens, you're going to see some real energy put towards removing sort of all of the corruption and the imbalance that goes on in Russia, certainly in terms of, money and assets. I mean, if the United States thinks that they have a real, wealth discrepancy, you ain't seen nothing until you actually look at Russia. So there we have it. You've got you've got emotions rising. You've got people getting right motivated. In some ways, what is going on in the United States is almost the precursor for what is going to happen in Russia. The only difference is that in the United States, people had sort of become a little bit complacent. And, frankly, the vast majority of people in 2016 really weren't impressed with either candidate. So they decided to go with an unknown quantity. In Russia, so because of that, there was this real push for people becoming involved and active and wanting to shift and change the result. And again, the same thing is destined to sort of happen to Russia. After Putin's fall from grace, there's going to be a real energy push to push out the bad actors and the negative behaviors, because the people of Russia have suffered, frankly, horrendous circumstances. And it's time for that to shift and change. It's going to shift and change by the will of the people. But at this point, the will of the people is not quite strong enough to actually bring this tower moment for Putin. Oh my goodness, look at this. If we don't have both Trump cards, how do, I mean, this card kind of means a couple things here. One, it's talking about Putin's fall from grace, his tower moment. But it is also talking about the influence that Russia has had and played that is actually going to cause Trump's fall from grace, because the people of the United States have been energized and are saying that is it, no more, enough is enough. So very interesting. So in fact, behavior that Trump is engaging in for the benefit of Russia is absolutely going to lead to his downfall. And the writing is on the wall. We have all seen the writing on the wall. So let's, just take this as confirmation that in fact, it's coming. It's just coming. Okay. Now I want to just shift the energy a little bit on this, and I want to take a look at sort of the future. What can Russia anticipate as it moves forward? Now, I did say in a reading very recently that Putin needs to be very careful and mindful over the next 3 years, mindful of his health, mindful of his surroundings, mindful of his physical safety. So let's drill down a wee little bit and see if we can figure out exactly kind of what's happening or likely to happen. What is the greatest potential for Russia? So Russia going forward, Russia going forward, Russia going forward. Yeah. The demonstrations, the all of that stuff that is going on in Russia, the people starting to push back, and it's actually not having any significant effect on Putin. I mean, it gets him mad because, people aren't treating him like the czar, but he's so insulated and he's so protected that it really, really does not impact him. It's sort of like water off a duck's back, right? It's those people that are complaining and protesting, they are inconsequential to him. They do not matter. So if they want to go protest and, get beaten up and thrown in jail, he doesn't care. It's just get rid of them. They're not important. And frankly, they're standing in my way. He's sort of like that person who, if he was walking down a country road and he saw a pebble kind of in his path, instead of taking a bigger step and stepping over the pebble or going around the pebble, he is that person who would kick the pebble because whatever's in his way has to be gotten rid of. And that's what you're dealing with here. The people are going to have an opportunity in a while to make a choice. And at some point, Russia is going to slowly start taking the steps to bring a balance and more democracy into the country itself. Do I think this is going to happen in 3 years? I don't. Do I think it might happen in 4 to 6 or 8 years? Probably. So that potential exists for them to make this transition. It would appear, the person who is going to come in after Putin, or the person after that, I honestly, I don't have real clarity on that. But I'm telling you, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I'm just not exactly sure, what process we go to get to the light, if you will. But they are going to be much more concerned and compassionate about their people. They're going to be much more concerned about doing things the right way, about fairness and balance. And that person is also going to have a huge job ahead of them, because they are too going to need to start changing people's opinions of the country. And honestly, by time the pushback is complete of Putin, Russia's status, Russia's hello Jerry, reputation, what little there is going to be completely destroyed. Okay, so they are also going to have a real building process ahead of them. Somebody asked me if so what I'm saying is the next fella or the fella after that is actually going to, or woman, is actually going to be able to have a lot of work cut out for them. They're going to have to start fixing the damage that was done, etc. Somebody asked me if the next leader was actually going to care about Russia. Yes, but there's a lot of work to do. So it is an evolution. It's not going to be quick or easy. I was also asked if Putin is actually going to be removed from power. What I will tell you energetically is that if Putin leaves power, if he is not in power, I don't see it because he is removed by political means. And you can read into that whatever you would like, but I'm not going to verbalize it, just so we're kind of clear. But there is a reason that Putin needs to be very mindful of not only his health, but his physical safety and security. So, interesting that this did not bring into account sort of the right-wing, religious, fanatical element. And in some way, it didn't even bring in the kind of alt-right kind of attitudes. But make no mistake, these are definitely things that Putin is using to his advantage. And he's good enough to keep on using them. I mean, honestly, it's really just as simple as that. Come here, buddy. Come here. Oh, I guess you want to say goodbye to all the kind people too, eh? Thank you so much for the likes, the subscribes, the support, the comments. So grateful and so appreciative. They're wonderful, and every one of you are wonderful too. Thank you ever so much, and until next time, take care, be well, and I'll see you really soon. Bye.